Our next up, we have Ramesh, a woman with a fantastic story and a chocolate connoisseur who constantly spends about $100 a week on chocolate.
Although her love for chocolate is very deep, her presentation is not that shallow. Please be aware that the following slides do contain images of war.
Silence is all I hear. It was the early hours of a bright morning, the air still with sleep. Suddenly, a blast erupted, disrupting the serenity of the night, a terrifying sound. Paralyzed with fear, I had blacked out, and when I opened my eyes, I was standing in the open street. Chaos filled the city. Confused people wandered around, thinking the world was coming to an end. A smell assaulted our senses. The smell of sulfur and death. Just as peace was getting restored, another boom echoed, shattering every visible window. Children cried amongst the disarray and panic. My home, Burujerd, in Iran, was bombed. The area in which my aunt lived was destroyed. As my mother and I rush there, we see corpses piled upon one another. Screams of grief tore through the morning air. My aunt was okay. However, many of her neighbors were not. Silence was disrupted when a stranger knocked on the door. He stood ahead of me, blood running down his face, making him unrecognizable. What happened? I urged. Trembling, his only reply was, "What do I do? Tell me, what do I do? What do I do?" His loaded school bus was destroyed. The seats were stained with the telltale rustiness of blood. But this was nothing compared to the direct bombing of an elementary school. A school for the deaf and the blind. Every single one of these children had died. Silence. The following day, the corpses of these children were taken out to be identified. That day, I made a decision I still regret. I decided to go see this grievous scene for myself. It was a terrifying experience. Young bodies between the ages of 5 and 10 lay next to one another. So young, yet the light of their future had been stripped from them. Some had papers with their names laid across their stomachs, while others had not yet been identified. As a child was recognized, a mother would collapse in agony, pleading for the mercy of God. This scene permanently scarred me, their faces engraved into the depths of my memories. The very next day, my friends and I decided to go see the wreckage of the deaf school for ourselves. Another decision I regret. There was dark red blood on fairy tale books, colorful markers scattered everywhere, small sneakers missing their owners, brains splattered amongst yellow painted walls, and chunks of flesh found in the hairs of dolls. And still, all I heard was silence. Within this instant, the crescendo rumbling of an airplane's jet led to the deafening sound of a bomb. This bomb blew Jabber and I into the sewers. Had I gone deaf? For a buzzing filled my ears. I couldn't feel my right leg. Consumed with fear, we didn't dare move. Dust was all we could see as it filled our lungs and coated our skins. More silence. Slowly, my vision clears, unveiling the horror in front of us. Corpses. Dozens and dozens. and dozens of corpses, some motionless, others shriveling in the rolling dirt. And then I heard the screams, the cries for help, the howls of pain, the wails of mothers all come rushing towards me. Blood soaked my jeans, none of it was mine. And suddenly I remember I had two other friends with me, Majid and Cameron. We yell out their names and find Majid grasping his leg, clenching his teeth. We ask where Cameron was, afraid we already knew the answer. Beside Majid lay my best friend's bike, his deserted green bike. After helping as many of the injured out as I could, I made my way home, and only then did I feel the pain in my leg. I discover half the blood belongs to me, a bomb shard, a shrapnel in my leg. Using a piece of cloth, I covered the wound, and never once did I burden my mother with what had happened that day. As I lay in bed, the deafening silence haunts my dreams. This is the story of my father. I asked him how he would infuse light in such a horrifying situation, and his only reply was silence. There is no glory in war, only brutality and inhumanity. There is no peace in war, only devastation and damnation. There is no light in war, only stillness and darkness. We witness millions of citizens oppressed, thousands of innocents injured, and countless attempts of suicide right in front of us. Yet, I question why we are all silenced.